Hey, everybody, welcome to today's episode of the What Worked For You show. Today, we're going to talk about something that is extremely important in the world of coaching and just getting educated, and that is wisdom. Now, today, information is everywhere, and quite frankly, information is cheap. I mean, it's free. How much cheaper can you get? But the problem is, how do we know what information is good versus not good? How do we apply it to our lives? How do we know if we even should apply it? And there is the kicker, something called wisdom, which unfortunately you can't get it just by clicking go in ChatGPT. Today's guest is a gentleman who's been coaching for over 35 years. He used to be a #1 trainer for Tony Robbins, a name that's well known in the world. But today he is an NLP master coach. He works with business owners as well as entrepreneurs to help them get from point A to B. He's got a system called the Samurai Success System from his martial arts background, so that's going to be pretty cool to learn about, and he's been a best-selling author. He specializes in helping people with wisdom how to actually get what they seek. So without further ado, David Olcutt, it's a pleasure to have you on today. How are you?
Thanks, man. This has been a while for us to get together. I'm really excited about being here today.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're here. Well, I want to start with, before I get into my questions, I want to start with what we were talking about before the show, which was this idea of wisdom. And 35 years plus educating people, no doubt you acquire a lot of wisdom when you talk to that many people. In today's world of business, you can go on, and I'll pick on Instagram for a moment. I'm a real estate guy. Real estate education has been cheapened to the point where people, if they have to pay a penny for it, they feel like they're getting ripped off. They're totally missing the point. You now see ads where people are talking about buying and selling businesses as, full running businesses as easy as going down to the local grocery store and buying a gallon of milk. What is it in your experience that has us so addicted to information that we've literally cheapened the real value in getting someone to help?
Wow, that's a great way to start this off, man. What a powerful, profound question to dive into. So let's take it from a different level. If we can define what is this thing called wisdom from our experience, right? Our opinion about it. There's a big difference between that wisdom because wisdom is something called timing. And when you can bring your soul into the conversation, you can have a very accelerated way to get to wisdom because wisdom is a universal language. It's a universal law. It's something that only comes through experience, which is before wisdom. Experience has to come before that. And what comes before that is knowledge. So there's the belief system that we have in our society that knowledge is power. And in the book we wrote, we speak about this a lot. We have noticed that knowledge is not power. As a matter of fact, we're going all these seminars, going all these coaches, getting these books, getting all these tapes, getting all this stuff off YouTube. And a lot of that information, unfortunately, doesn't have the wisdom imbued into it. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have the experience of the person sharing the information with you. And that's what I think you are calling cheapening it. It devalues it for sure because it isn't authentic. So all you're doing is teaching me a strategy you haven't actually applied. Knowledge without application is a nightmare. It's devaluing everything. Just because I can talk about a subject doesn't mean I have an experience of that subject. And that's where real wisdom from our perspective comes into place. You take that knowledge, you go apply it to you first without telling anybody else about it. See how it works for you, and then share that experience of that for other people because not all same strategies are going to work for the same people. As a matter of fact, many people are going to have different approaches to the same strategy, which changes the results of the strategy. So devalues that experience again. The big thing that's missing between knowledge base and wisdom is the experience. And in that experience is where you're going to find those really cool secrets of the universe that leads into wisdom.
Yeah, and I wrote that down. I was like, knowledge is not power. I was typing it real quick. So, and I said, that's a great social media post. Boom, in red big letters, knowledge is not. And it's like, what do you mean knowledge is not power? And I'll give you an example. Earlier today, I spoke with a gentleman who was interested in coaching, and he's gotten some knowledge, but he hasn't had any results. So he's interested in a coach. Oh, but I can't get coached for free. You're right. And it's like, so now they have a little bit of experience. And sometimes it's not a little bit, sometimes it's a lot of experience. And this is in the real estate world, but I've also seen it with some business owners I've come across where they'll do business 2, 3, 4 years. Well, why don't you get someone to help you? Oh, no, it would cost $5,000 to pay someone to help me for however long, right? There is such an apprehension toward it. And I get it, right? Some people are like, well, I tried that once and it didn't work. So then they post that it didn't work. They share on social media. So now you get all these new people that get it in their head, oh, this doesn't work. How do you help people understand, hey, the value in having a coach, mentor, whatever you want to call it, it's pennies compared to what it will get you back when you get the right one. And I find that it's hard for people to grasp that thing. And I will tell you, it's literally pennies compared to what you'll get back if you do the work with the right person.
Ah, nailed it, Frank. That's exactly the right point to end on, which as long as you do it with the right person and the right knowledge base for you, there's got to be a fit between you and your coach. You've got to bring the commitment. So there's two elements at Samurai Success that we have to have. And why we've been so successful over the last 35 years of working with our clients is because we pay for ourselves in the first year. It's not a guarantee we make. We've just consistently done that because we know who to work with. We work with entrepreneurs that have worked for at least 3 years in the business that their industry is. They're committed to that industry and committed to the goals of building a scalable empire, if you will. They want to go from self-employed to business owner. And the difference between those two things is vast. It's massive. A self-employed person is someone who has a job. You got to go to work every single day. You are in control of quality control and profitability. You can't leave your business for any period of time because those things suffer if you do. A true business owner can leave their business for up to 3 months at a time and not affect quality control or profitability. Now, what does it take to do that? That's what we specialize in, helping people really focus on going from self-employed to truly a business owner. So we know our criteria and who we work with. That's how we know if we're going to be a fit. So when we talk to people, we are always, doing that diagnostic and analysis. This, are we making sure we're a great fit? Why? Because we have an entire marketing package that's based upon referral only. That if we don't succeed for you, then you don't refer us to other people, and it gets out that we're not doing really great work for you. We're not going to do that. So we're very, very particular about who we work with. That's why we have the success that we have. Now, once we have that, we know we're a good fit. It's your commitment to making that happen. And if you're starting to worry about time, money, energy, all these other things, then you're not really committed to what you're talking about anyway. So why are we having this conversation? And that's just the bold side of me going, are you really committed to where you want to go? So if I do the math, then your company you want to build is going to be worth $10 million. And you're talking about a $5,000, a $10,000, a $20,000, a $100,000 investment to make $10 million. I don't know what your math is, but that return on investment is huge. So we show people that. They say, if you are committed to this and you want to build a structure, you want to build this empire, this is what this would look like. Then just take the commitment against that time and money. Is it worth it? Are you that committed? Because without those two elements, Frank, we've been very clear that people aren't going to be successful.
And we see it all the time, right? We see it all the time. So then two things. One, the elementary side of this is, because it's elementary is maybe not the right word, or maybe it is. How do you help someone understand that free is extraordinarily expensive?
Mm.
Because and you'll see it, right? People, because you'll have those people on social media. They're like, man, I did it for free. Well, I've met some of these. In fact, every single person that's gone down the free route, and I've had the opportunity to meet them, they've had a little bit of success, but none of them have been like, yes. And that's not an insult to them. It's just you can have some success if you do the free route. It does work on occasion for some. Usually those people are incredibly motivated and driven. In fact, all of them were that I've personally met. But none of them had really arrived, so to speak. They were still just a work in progress. But that's not everybody's hyper driven. So how do you help people get past that and be like, for most people, free means you're going to try it and quit. That's really what it means. For easily 90 plus, in my world, real estate, easily 90+%, easily.
Well said. Yep.
Tell us about that.
So there's really an important discernment in our vocabulary here, our lexicon of language. Free doesn't mean value. And discerning between those two words, Frank, are really important in our conversation. So if the knowledge is free, what you're really paying and the value of hiring a coach is to get you to apply that knowledge to get to the result. Because if you don't apply that knowledge, application is what you're paying for. So it's not the knowledge base that you're paying for, because knowledge just seems to be everywhere. It always has been everywhere. But what you're paying for is the value of that application, helping you stay accountable to applying that knowledge to see if it works for you to get the results or not. So it's just really a really change of perspective. Now, you and I are about the same age. And so you and I grew up in a time where it says, we knew this cliche says nothing's for free. We
That's
knew
right.
that. I mean, that was part of our psychosis, our
Right.
psychology, if you will. Now, today is like, oh no, if it isn't free, it isn't good. Listen, no one values free. As a human being, you got to, and that's
Nobody.
why people don't move from knowledge based to application because they don't value that application. And so what you're paying for is to value that part and get the results and have that return of investment finally. Because if you spent all your time, money getting all this knowledge and you spent no money, but you spent a lot of time, time is money. You spent all that time, years dedicating yourself to this knowledge base, but you didn't apply it. You never got the results. You never got the return on investment. It's a formula that works. It's a success law that you can fight against it all you like, but the
Yeah.
smart ones are the ones that go, no, that's the formula. That's what I'm going to apply. I'm going to make sure I use the formula.
Well, with AI today, people have never fought harder
Mm, yes.
because now AI is the formula. Even though I know I could hop on any of the common AIs today and type in a question and get erroneous information. Because now they've just become a glorified search engine. So it's hard because it's like you're fighting this like, but I love the way you said it, the value. And you said a word in there that's critical. And and I'm curious in your opinion. In my opinion, it's one of the most unloved words in the world.
All right. Writing
One
this
of the
down.
most unloved words in the world. And it's the word accountability. Do we really want to be held accountable? Everyone says yes, but the reality is we all know that's not true. How do you help people understand this? Well, first of all, what is the real definition of accountability and how do you explain to people? And here's how we're going to hold your feet to the fire.
Mm. I can tell you that this new evolution of psychology coming up with a new, generation of people is very different from my generation and I was very different from the one before. So there's changing happening. So at Samurai Success, we really dedicated the first 10, 15 years of me yelling and screaming and being passionate more than my client was. That's how I did it. I was exhausted though, Frank. I was exhausted from getting, and by the way, I was helping people become millionaires and I was drained out of my mind. It was helping them build empires. I was helping them with their family. I was helping with all this stuff. And where was the return for me? There was no, I was exhausted. And my family was feeling that. My colleagues were feeling that. My employees were feeling that. So I had to do something different. And that's why we built the Samurai Success System. Because in our system, you don't hire one coach, you hire three coaches. And each one of them is a
Love it.
specialist in psychology, design and mapping, process development work, and the financial side. And each one of those works as one pod system to help you become successful. Very unique in the industry. We know that. So the thing is that because like, any sports team, they have specialists. They have a head coach, they have an offensive coach, they have a defensive coach, they have a special teams coach. We specialized in that same way almost 20 years ago, 19 years ago exactly. And we did that on purpose because we saw that we were fighting, fighting our clients what we call programming, their subconscious programming that was telling them, no, I know how to do that. Even though they hadn't gotten the results in the world, they had hired us to help them get the results. We weren't fighting them, we were fighting their psychology, their subconscious psychology. We call that programming in the world of NLP. So we noticed that your brain will, if it finds a better way to do something, it'll do something that fast. Touch a hot stove, it immediately doesn't need to touch it again, right? It learns, oh, no, don't do that again. If it finds something positive, it will also do that. So our entire system does this for you. Your psychology is developing a certain type of process or way that you're going to do some work, some kind of action or behavior, but it's your psychology that drives that behavior. Your beliefs create your behaviors, those create your results. In our financial team, we then show you the results of what that psychology and that design process work is doing. And we just simply show you, hey, here's the financial results of doing those things. And I will tell you, Frank, that usually ends the conversation because how you feel isn't always how the numbers show up. Oh, I feel like I'm doing really good. No, the numbers don't. Do you think you're really doing good with that number? Well, no. Well, then how does your feelings have anything to do with that number? Because your feelings aren't creating that result. So it's making sure that you don't let your business be driven by your feelings. There has to be a mix of both those things, your feelings and your rational side. So our system allows the entrepreneur to be able to do something really special because every entrepreneur I've ever met, if it isn't their idea, they're not going to do it. So our entire system is not about me barking and yelling or any of my coaches barking and yelling anymore. It's about simply having you have a personal verified experience of the truth. If you do it this way with this mindset, this skill set, then you get this result. If you do it this way, you get this result. Which result do you like best? We're no longer fighting your psychology. You're adapting your psychology, your programming to what really works. So your podcast is for what worked for you because each one of us is very different, unique in approach to our business. Even though it's called real estate, 70% of our clients have been real estate. None of them have had the same spine development or what we call process development. They've never had the same results from financials. They may be doing the same strategies, but the psychology changes everything. So putting that together in a system so people can really have that is what we really design and really what we coach with.
I love it. And I love the multiple coach system.
Mm.
I love that because, and it's, I have thought about that in the past. So it's encouraging to me to hear that because, like, I could teach real estate, but I know, for example, I had a client once where I told him, what do you know about accounting? He's like, nothing. I was like, you should learn a few things. And I'd say, here's a little book to buy. It's like 50 pages long or whatever it was, a little small book. You're not going to be an accountant, but you're going to understand some basics. What is a
Yes.
P&L? What is a balance sheet? Just some basic things. And he's like, but I want to learn real estate. I know, that's why I need you to read this. Because when I learned real estate, far too many real estate um, courses are taught in a bubble, as if real estate's a be all end all, and it's not.
Yes, sir.
It's business, and business, real estate's just a little cog in the wheel. It's a big cog, but it's still just a cog. So I love that you have that system. That's so good, and it's so incredibly necessary because we do need multiple coaches. The world has become very specialized. And you would, I don't know, everyone seems to think AI is going to solve all the problems, but I think it's adding complexity. What do you think?
Complexity and chaos. There's no question about that.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So 2026 is going to be ripe with that kind of thing. And I don't want to sound like I'm really excited for your level of chaos. I'm really excited about the possibility of chaos because my world in chaos was where all the opportunities exist. I
Yeah,
thrive in that place.
yeah,
How did you get there, Dave? Well, all my experiences tell me to thrive because I've been through so many cycles of this chaos. Have
yeah.
they been the same level of intensity? Hell no. But some have been worse, some have been less, some have been all over the page. But that experience of application of knowledge is what gives me this confidence of going into this next cycle. And that's
Yeah.
where most people fail, where, hey, AI is not going to help you with that because it doesn't help you with your feelings. It doesn't help you with your confidence. As a matter of fact, it actually takes away from that confidence because you're counting on depending on something outside of yourself, again, to be able to produce your results that you're taking credit for that you know is a fraud. And you're going to feel that inside. And that inauthenticity is what shows up in the sales process, in the real estate process, in parenting, in relationships. You feel that you're not the one really generating these ideas, then it's going to show up in your authenticity, and that's going to have an effect on your results.
Let's go deeper on that because I that's good. That's good stuff right there. It started with Google years ago. Let me Google that for you, the jokes and right, and sorry Ben Yahoo, you just didn't quite get the badge Google did, right? Google was the household name, and I remember what I would have contractors come and for a specific task, and they'll say, by the way, I do other things. Oh, what's that? Oh, well, and I literally had multiple people tell me over the years, I do X, Y, and Z, but if you tell me double A, I'll just Google it and I'll do that for you too. And of course, in my brain, I'm like triple red flag. That's a horrible idea, especially in construction where you can get hurt. This is a horrible idea. But that's how they did things, and the results. And I'd seen people do it on a couple occasions, and the results spoke for themselves. Not particularly good. So it started with that, then Chat GPT. Now you have all these various AI. There's an AI for everything, it seems, and like what seems to have happened practically overnight. People have never been more used to click a button. I don't have to work to get an answer. So the opportunity for inauthenticity arguably has never been higher. What does reversing the trend look like? Because we literally have a generation of people growing up that I'm not sure they even know what it means to be authentic, and not even necessarily their own fault.
I would agree. So, taking a look from a little bit smaller chasm of that, because that's a big rabbit hole to go down to, is that we seem to work in cycles and pendulums, right? Things swing one way and then they swing another way, kind of thing. And this thing of swinging is just about timing of things. How
Yeah.
long before we don't hear about the Kardashians anymore, or the Hiltons, Paris Hiltons anymore, or this band, or this? We go in these cycles of this. Everything's about this thing. And we've just done this with all the podcast stuff, right? And it's still continuing on. And now we're going to be moving into the AI venture of this. And then we're always looking for this stuff outside. Well, I can tell you when this pendulum finally swings to the center and comes back the other way, the people who have invested in being authentic are going to win that game. And that cycle is going to be there for quite some time. So now is the time when this new, trend is happening, this new fad is happening. And growing up in the 80s, believe me, I've seen so many fads and things come and go.
Sure.
This will be one of those now. What are you saying that the AI is a fad? It will be here for a while. It will change its complexity. It will change its intensity. The way we approach it will all be fad, but it'll be like the internet. It'll be part of our life. There's no question about it. But
Sure.
remember, the key to ChatGPT or Gronk or any of the other AI implements is the user being able to ask the right question, the right prompt. And I will tell you that if a contractor came to my house and said, "Hey, I'm going to Google that, and for the very first time, I'm going to see that video and I'm going to apply it in your home or your house," or that would be a huge red flag for me because you have no experience doing that. Because in that scenario, they don't tell you to look for that water line or that electrical line or that other thing that may be in that condition of my environment that I haven't put into the prompt. And without that prompt, I'm going to run into a dangerous situation. I'd rather work with somebody who has that authenticity, that experience of doing that multiple times. And then they have a reputation because what you practice makes permanent, not perfect.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? You practice something, it makes it permanent. So if you practice something really poorly, you're really good at doing something very poorly. Just practice doesn't
Yeah.
make perfect. So the opportunity reel here is that we really start looking at this authenticity that we're bringing to the table. And I would tell you, as that becomes less and less, it's going to become more and more valued. So people who are investing in the authenticity now are going to win the game long term.
Authenticity never goes out of style,
No, sir.
and it
Just the
never will,
timing.
as long as we're.
I hope not in my lifetime anyway.
Yeah, no, it'll never go out of style, and if it does, then then the movie The Terminator has become real, right?
Yes, sir. Exactly.
That's the total reset button. But hopefully, we won't get to that. So let me ask you: you've spent over 3 decades now coaching people and business owners around the globe. When you look at your journey, and I wrote this down, what do you think has most contributed to the level of trust and results you've been able to create with your clients?
I mean, the word that comes right now is the results that we get from our clients are undeniable. And so when we set a goal and we actually reach those goals, it's a pretty remarkable thing because most people have spent their lives setting goals and not reaching them or reaching a couple of them but not really fully doing this. We have something at Samurai Success that says, hey, you're becoming a business owner now. Now we want to start getting your next compelling future because every business owner has the same compelling future that we've really taken a look at here that just says, hey, Frank, what are we going to do here this week? Well, we're building this today. We're digging this ditch today to be able to get there's a result later on. Well, what's the result later on? Because that's my compelling future. Why am I doing this today? Is because, oh, I want to create this thing in the future. Well, that thing in the future is called Project Destiny for us. And that's having enough time and money to do what you really want to do. And for most people, Frank, as you know, it isn't working. Now, people like me are crazy. This is my calling. This is what I love to do. You can't not find me doing coaching. I mean, this is why I'm here, purpose built for this. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
But I noticed that that's not a usual experience. Most people are just looking for the money or the job or the career or something like this. This is a calling for me. And for our coaches, that's who we hire. It's got to be part of that. So holding that higher standard is a part of who I am, this calling to this next level. So getting to those results has really been the biggest thing that holds them accountable to this because then they build a confidence that they can do this on their own. And that's our primary goal is to teach you that there is a master inside of you that if you can listen to that stuff, stop listening to all the talking heads around you and the distractions that go along with you. There's a part of you that knows these things. But it isn't going to come from ChatGPT or any AI. It's not going to come from Google. It's not going to come from anything outside of you. You have to build the trust with you that you can actually download information from a different source. And that's part of you being a soulful creature, your divinity that comes into this place of this. And I will tell you, if there's really a big distraction for me as someone, the whole reason my understanding is your soul came to this place to be able to do something is to experience itself for which that it says it is. So if I say that I'm a real estate person, I'm a real estate investor, then doing real estate investing is congruent with who I say I am, being authentic. But if I say I'm a world-class athlete and I sit over on the couch over there and eat Cheetos, those two things don't go together. So my identity drives all the things I want to do in this lifetime. And once I can align my goals with who I say I am, I start living a purpose-driven life. If I'm counting on something outside of me to do that, I'm never going to get to that level of fulfillment. I don't care how much money I have. I don't know how many things and material stuff I have. I'm never going to be happy and confident and grateful for this life. So make all the money you want, you're going to be miserable. I know I've lived that life. When I was in South Beach in Miami, when I go through that story, that's what changed my whole trajectory about this because I realized my soul wasn't living part of my destiny. I wasn't part of this fulfillment process. I was making money. I was on the things. I was doing all these things on stage, and it was terrible. So living that life of fulfillment is one of the reasons you come here and you're missing out on that opportunity if you're just counting on all these things outside of you to be able to determine your results.
There's a lot there. We'll come back to the Miami thing. But there's a word you said in there a few times, distraction. We've never been more distracted. How does an entrepreneur today, whether they're seeking to become one, just trying to leave their job, maybe they've been an entrepreneur for 2, 3, 4 decades, and they're very experienced, maybe they're in the middle, only a few years. The number one issue with so many people is distraction. in your opinion, how do you put an end to it?
This is something I've been studying for the last 35 years of my life, man. I mean, really, literally, this is the thing. Because if you don't get to, through distractions, if you can't eliminate that, you never get to wisdom. So that starts off our whole conversation we started with today. Distractions are something that are going to become more and more prolific. As chaos happens, your brain wants to look for patterns. It wants to look for themes in life. It wants to look for stability. Well, with chaos, there's going to be all these distractions, and your brain's going to be fighting you about looking at all these other things. So I would love to tell you a strategy of, hey, you got to stop doing this. You got to stop doing this. Stop watching social media. Stop doing this. You're never going to stop doing that until you change something very, very important. And this is where our breakthrough comes in. Until you change your programming, Frank, none of this stuff outside of you changes. Your distraction threshold is hardwired into your subconscious programming. And until you change that, there is no strategy on the planet. You can go starve yourself. You can do, I'm not going to do social media for 30 days. As soon as that 30 days, though, if you make it that long, that 31 day, you're like, I did so good. Let me go celebrate by watching social media, right? And boom, you're hooked in again. It's the
Yep.
same thing with food. It's the same thing with everything that is a distraction to us. But the ones of us who can limit that distraction are the ones who are winning the game. That's the formula. Lesser distractions, more results. If you know that and you're truly committed to that, then you've got to be able to find someone to help you change that programming. That programming is what's causing you to behave this way. Change the programming, your behaviors change, your results change. And things that used to distract you are no longer even in your awareness. They're not even part of this. I mean, I gave up watching television and news 25 years ago. I haven't missed it. It's like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? You stop watching news. Where do you get your news from? People tell me what I need to hear. And then I go do the research based upon what I'm hearing. Oh, that's interesting. Let me go check that out. I go do my work. But I don't count on other people telling me what the news is of the day because that's a distraction for me. Because they always want to be able to sell you through some kind of fear or some kind of other scarcity thing. And I'm like, hey, I don't need that. If there's one thing that I've done for myself personally that I think has had the greatest results in helping our clients, is that I'm so disciplined with what I allow to go into my brain. I do not watch a movie unless I've chosen it. I do not watch a television show unless I watch it. I do not watch television because it has commercials. I don't listen to radio because it has commercials. I am very, very specific about what I let go in my brain because that brain takes that information and starts to reprogramming it into a way that I don't want it to do it, and I get distracted. So that's the real answer to the question that is, I've got to change that programming of distraction to be able to focus on the results I'm after.
So it's a discipline, which is maybe the second most unpopular.
Did you want to cover all five today? We nailed the first two.
Those two right there, I mean, distraction, discipline. I mean that. Again, how going back to I'm in the real estate world. We did a study internally a few years back where we literally called thousands of people. And we literally found that 90% of people after 4 years, regardless of what area of real estate investing they were in, had quit. The distractions of life, the discipline to do what needs to be done. And quite frankly, the majority were gone within 1 to 2 years. But some hung around a little longer. They had a little more lead work. And we just find discipline, it's an unpopular word because, again, life today, we've never been so bombarded like we are today. And it has become a real challenge. And you mentioned growing up in the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. We weren't as distracted.
No.
Not even close, not even remotely close. I remember being in my early 20s. I went to college and I played music and went to class. That was it. It was a very simple life. And now life, it's like if something is simple today, it's almost like people look at it like, no, that can't be right. That's too simple. spiritually, professionally, relationally. We've built, in my opinion, a lie. I think it's a lie. I'm curious to your opinion. My opinion is this idea that things have to be complex for it to be real is simply not true. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I usually like to stay away from lies because our psychology really is interesting about that, but we call those illusions for sure,
Illusions.
right?
Fair
Yeah.
point.
Um, they are absolutely illusionary. As a matter of fact, most of this incredible reality that we live in, being a virtual reality, if you will, going to use that metaphor, then this is a reality that we are creating. And one of the very first books I ever read called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill spoke to this. This is the 1903 was when it was written. This is not, new technology. This is old stuff that he was learning from the masters of the universe at the time, the Carnegies, the Carringtons of the world, the Westinghouses. I mean, the big players, the empires, the Elon Musk that we know about, the big billionaires of the time. He studied them and interviewed them and wrote this book based upon what successful people do. And it talked over and over about your psychology, your programming. All these things were there in this book saying, hey, how you program yourself is how you're going to get these results. So that investment in you and that programming is the most important work you're going to do with this entire lifetime. I don't care if you're in real estate or a glass company or the airline industry, no matter where you go, there you are. Your psychology goes with you, and your psychology drives everything. So we've been trained to be this distracted. We've made it allowed for ourselves to be distracted. But remember, when you and I were growing up, the competition was so fierce, brother. For that one job, you and I had to be really, really gifted to be able to get that one job. There's so many jobs today and so few people looking for it. That same level of competition isn't driving the pressure for
Mhm.
people to have to invest in themselves. So when you look at the entire big game of going on, there's a lot of factors that are playing into this that just go, wow. And by the way, why do you think AI and robots have become so big? Because there's so many jobs that need to be complete to keep our economies across the world going, and so few people to serve those, they've got to be replaced by something. Automation makes sense. We've been doing it for centuries. Now it's about just bringing it to the next level of closer to humanoid automation, which are robots. So we're doing this to ourselves because we're playing this game, and business owners are very, very good at innovation. If they don't see that that resource is there, they're going to find a way to create it. So that's what we're dealing with.
That's a good point. As business owners, we're business owners as we solve problems.
Solve problems. Yes, sir.
And if we're not solving problems, it's hard to run a business. So we got to solve some problems. But yeah, problem solving is, that's something that it's almost taboo at times, right? It's like, oh, you want me to solve? No, I just want to go to Chat GPT. That's our idea of solving problems versus critical thinking. And I didn't think about what you were just saying. Like in the '80s, people really did level up
Mhm.
to get that one job. And you think about a tool like, say, like Indeed, good website for finding talent. But if you put a job out there and let's say you get 50 applications, we'll pick an administrative and assistant. That's a nice simple one. You'll probably get 200 in a day, right? And of the 200, maybe 10% will have put some effort into the resume.
That's exactly our
Maybe.
stat. Exactly. Yep.
We just don't value some of those things. But yet, success comes from mastery.
Mm.
And we don't even master the simple things. If success comes from mastery, not money, what does success look like in practice today for business owners? You know, Here we are at the turn of the year. What does that really look like going into the new year with all this change and chaos, so to speak?
So with a name like Samurai Success, success is built into our name, but we better know some things about success. And what's interesting about it is that when we started off, we started asking, well, what's your level of success? And the more people you ask, the more variances you got. It was like every single person had a very different and unique, significant way of defining success. So there was no consistency, there was no pattern there. And yet underneath it was always the pattern. So here's the pattern we discovered. that in order for somebody to be successful, it doesn't matter how you are going to say what it is. What the real measurement and metric is for success is it repeatable?
Mm,
If I just do it one time, Frank, then I'm lucky. If I do it twice, oh, maybe I got a little bit of something or I got some money from somebody or whatever. I may have gotten lucky. But if I do it three, four, 5 times, now I'm being developing success. So
mm,
success, by definition, really should be not what it is you're after, but the metric of duplication. So if you can
mm.
duplicate that, then you're going to be successful. Now, let's run the scenario of this definition that we're using ChatGPT. So let's say I'm successful, right? And I'm using ChatGPT, but I'm not showing my clients how I'm using this, right? I'm doing it hidden. I'm showing you how impressive I am because and then I show all this stuff on my screen and everything else like this. And now I'm in a meeting, right? And now I have to perform without ChatGPT or some other resource, and I have to perform right there in front of that person. I don't have that skill set. And if I do have that skill set, I don't have the confidence in that skill set to perform under pressure.
Mm,
That's where the rubber meets the road. And
mm.
that's where the whole thing falls apart. And that's where we have a lot of our clients coming to us right now going, I have relied on this information. I relied on this AI, even though it's such short notice. And I'm falling on my face where it comes to these places where I can't use that and the fly and, making decisions very quickly. I'm not quick-witted going to this. I don't have that confidence to be able to fix that solution because my brain isn't solving problems through critical thinking, like you said. So beautiful. A word that is so missing in our management teams these days. Critical thinking is a skill set that you have to practice. Yes, some of us are gifted in it, but you still got to practice. It's a perishable art. And if you're counting on something outside of you, like ChatGPT or something else, making those calculations for you, you're going to lessen your ability to do that under pressure.
Critical thinking, that kind of takes us back to where we started, and that's you have to have it to be able to perform under pressure, or just and performs maybe not the best word, but just to accomplish something, because there's always going to be something that needs to be accomplished under pressure. And there may not be anyone. That's why I say performs maybe not the best word, because it may not involve anybody else. It may just be between you and yourself. But this critical thinking is so critical. And I was thinking, that's why you hire a coach, right? That's one of the reasons to learn how
That's
to,
perfect.
like, well, that's one of the first things you should hire a coach for, is to learn how to think effectively in whatever it is
Well
you're
said.
seeking to do. It's not just the information. So it's just, I was like, perfect. We came full circle. I love it.
Well, in our
So,
universities, we've got to stop teaching kids what to think and teach them how to think. And that's what coaching is doing. We're actually replacing the university system, what it should be doing, from my opinion, that it should be teaching how to get you to think, not what you should think. You can't memorize this, show up and throw up kind of things. It's about how to do critical thinking. And that's an absolute great benefit of the value of coaching today.
yeah, we won't go down the university rabbit hole because we'll be here a long time. But I
Good.
agree.
Probably saved us from being
When,
canceled.
when we were in college, how to think was everything. And, I tell the story when I took a philosophy class at the age of, I believe I was 18. So I was a freshman and I took this class. I don't remember learning anything, but I did learn something about critical thinking that I never forgot. It was quite frankly, the only thing I learned that I can recall. It had rained the morning of class, and we went to class. And I laughed because recently we were there, and I told my wife, I was like, "Look, that's the building where we learned this one thing."
Wow.
And the teacher said, "It rained this morning. Is the grass really wet outside?" And they spent the whole period arguing, when it rains, is the grass really wet? Now, that sounds insane, because it quite frankly is, but the fact that a conversation could go on for an hour about this, and what I learned was maybe that's what we were really learning, not the nonsense superficial part of it, which is comical,
Great,
of course,
great
but
insight.
the ability to debate something. extensively, whether you agree or not, there's a lot of power there. I
Yes, sir.
mean, one of my coaches tells me this: always be able to argue both sides of an issue, even if you disagree. And I was like, oof, that's powerful. So, yeah, okay, that was a little trip down memory lane.
I love it. But I think it really fits into the criteria what we're talking about today, which is you developing this mindset, right? And not counting on other things to be able to do that for you because it actually weakens you. It actually takes away from your confidence. It takes away from mastery to get back to that point. Mastery is about your self mastery over you, not anything else. Mastery from our side is a path. A master is someone who is on a path toward that. So this idea of becoming a master isn't something in our vocabulary because in the field of mastery, you never reach a level of mastery where you're like, I'm done, that's it, I'm complete with this stuff. Unless you're making that transition, that's something different. But in our path of mastery in Samurai Success, it's a pathway of something you've chosen and your vision about who you want to do and explore who you are this lifetime, and then being on that path in a consistent, disciplined way. And the more you stay there and you be less distracted, the more you're going to be on that path of mastery. And it's going to shift everything about you, including these things called frequencies, the way you show up as authentic, having less conversations to be able to get the same results because authenticity has a frequency that people resonate with. And when you feel it, Frank, from the other person, like this conversation we're having right now, it's like we're dialed in. It's like, oh, this is good stuff. Think about how when you can have that kind of conversation with your kids or with your mate or with your friends or with someone who is an enemy on the other side and still have a deep conversation with someone to get to a resolution as what we've turned debate into who wins today. That was never its design. Debate was critical thinking. Developing the critical thinking thing was to be able to get to the best idea, not winning. We've lost that, and we've got to get back to that authenticity of what debate is supposed to be about, which is about how do we create a better human? How do we create a better society? How do we create a better situation? As opposed to, oh no, I win and everything is good as it is.
That's such a great point. Like, as you were saying that, the thought that came to my mind was like mainstream news.
Hmm.
It's like we almost treat it like a football game. I say football because I'm a football
All
fan,
right.
right? It's like someone has to win, someone has to lose, not how do we get to the best idea. And you think about the political, and we don't have to get political, but that clearly that is an issue in that world. Clearly, it's an issue in numerous parts of our world where everything has to be a win or lose, but is that really true? Not really.
As a matter of fact, there's a great axiom in the world of NLP that speaks directly to this point, and that is that the people who buy into this entrepreneurs that we share and teach with this is there is no such thing as failure, only feedback. So when you approach life from that belief system, then you realize, oh, that was a setback or something else, but what did I learn from it? So making the mistake isn't the mistake, it's making the mistake the second time that's the mistake, right? So how do you learn from that mistake and then do this? Well, that's called experience. And that's where most people are afraid of today is because they're so worried about someone judging them for making a mistake, including themselves, that that's the big hurdle that we got to get past. We got to stop judging ourselves for making a mistake because that mistake, as long as you fix it or put something else in place so you don't have to repeat it, then you've won the game. And the only reason you know how to win the game is because you went through that thing you call failure or losing. I will tell you that some of our best, greatest sports histories, and I know you could list them better than I can, as when somebody was defeated. And then there's like, oh no, that's never going to happen to me again. Michael Jordan, we can go with that. Just one case in basketball. When he was kicked off his high school basketball team, he was like, oh, that was his fuel. That he
Yeah.
was like, that will never happen again. I know there are millions of examples about that. And yet, those people weren't afraid of going into that failure. They used that as fuel to transform. That was never going to happen to me again. We're missing that.
Yeah, yeah, no, there's no doubt. Using a mistake as fuel. Well, let me ask you this. When it comes to mistakes, we live in a world now arguably hyper judgmental when you get on social media. Everyone is an armchair quarterback expert at everything, and that was before AI. Now, with AI, they're armchair quarterback experts in everything, and they back it up with information that they really don't know. They just typed a prompt for it. Like you were discussing earlier, you make yourself seem smart in the moment, but then when you dig a little deeper, they really can't defend it. They just got it from a nice little prompt. But because everyone has become so judgmental so quickly, now it's almost like, I don't know if unpopular is the right word, but people are very hesitant to say, I made a mistake, as if being human is a sin. How do you help people navigate those waters? Because it's important to be able to say, I made a mistake and grow from it. It's critical.
Absolutely. So again, this is going to go back to our psychology about how we see the world, right? Because our psychology is what's designing the world for us. Our personal experience of the world is my psychology. I filter everything through what's coming in here. So I think that's true for me. I think it's factual, but it's just my reality. And that reality is very variable. It's up and down kind of stuff. And I will tell you that it's even gotten scarier than what we just talked about because now we're putting laws into place that when you make a mistake like this, that someone is going to pay for that and someone wants to charge you for it. And then we have all these HR issues going on in our companies today is what we can say and what we can't say. And what are we talking about here? How does that help us evolve and grow? It doesn't. It keeps us stagnant. That's not what we want to be able to do. As a matter of fact, the whole idea behind a capitalist marketplace and why it's so pervasive in getting the results that it has isn't because it's called capitalism. It's because it's called an ideal meritocracy. That's what capitalism is. We've lost this. Like we think our government or our country is a democracy. It's not. It's a republic. We've lost sense of our history of these. And I'm sounding pretty passionate about this because I know it's a quick fix if we can just get a small little group of us to be able to say, hey, let's talk about what's really working, what's really not working. And there are some people on this planet doing that kind of work. There's some of the talking heads and some of the very high level intellectuals that are having those kind of conversations. Thank God, because we were going down a very different path very quickly. And this is part of that pendulum. Now we're swinging one way, and we're about to swing another way, which is a challenge because what we're really looking for is something in the center. We're going to swing right by that thing pretty fast. And AI is going to help accelerate that, unfortunately. So, getting back to the point of this ideal meritocracy that we talked about earlier, which is the best idea should then be performance based. If this idea really works, then it should create the results that we're after collectively. And if it doesn't, then we need to move on from that. But making mistakes allows us to experience that and see if it really works or not. So, getting to that place where you stop judging yourself is the first thing we work with our clients on. And the best way to be able to do that is help them be successful in other areas of their lives because there is this level of judgment that's like a bank account that has so much stack. If you can start eliminating some of that, then you can deal with some of that, capacity issue that says, no, I'm my full level of judgment for myself. I can't handle anything more. And my reaction is so sensitive to everything. Like everybody says anything critical or anything, I freak out. But that's because my
Yeah.
judgment bank is too high. So lessening that is about getting really great results and realizing I've got some space for people to come in and judge me and me not judge myself. And that's reprogramming. That's about working on you and investing in you to make sure that when the pressure is there, and we pay for a lot of things in an ideal meritocracy, guess who gets paid the most? People who can deal with pressure.
Yeah.
We don't get paid by how many people feel. It's about how you feel about pressure, not how you're feeling when pressure is around you. So the idea here is that we got to get back to our basics of things. And we will get back to those things. I don't know the timing of that. That's something bigger than me. But I will tell you that this pendulum will swing the other way. And for those who are investing in themselves right now, you will benefit from that.
Love it. Your opinion on a phrase, pressure is a privilege. Agreed or disagree?
Absolutely 100% agree. Now, when I'm in it, I don't always agree with it. But from a philosophy concept about what really changes us as human beings structurally, it makes perfect sense. It resonates 100%. It doesn't mean I enjoy it when I'm in it because that's the learning curve. So here's the trick. How do you learn to love the pressure? Then you have to practice it. Practice makes permanent. When you get into a pressure situation, you get mad and angry and everything else, then every single time pressure comes up, you're going to get mad and angry and everything else. But if when pressure happens, you start to find to embrace it and finding a way this is making me evolve and helping me transform, and you create a different belief system about that, same, the meaning behind it changes, your reality behind it changes, your experience of it changes, your application of it changes, and the wisdom comes forth.
Mm. Yeah, it's there's a lot of pressure in the world right now, and not a whole lot of teaching on how to handle it. And you hear the stories about life is tough for people in today's day, and has been for the last few years, quite frankly. And it's so critical to surround yourself with the people that can help you through these things,
Mm.
to help deal with pressure. Um, your company, Samurai Success, no doubt you help people with this extensively. In fact, I looked up and I saw samurai loosely translates to this in service of others type of thing. I don't know if that's how accurate that is, but it seemed pretty close, loosely.
Yes.
How did this philosophy become the foundation of what you've built at this point?
So when I was really young, I was in a church, Methodist church. I was adopted in my family, so I had a really unique family dynamic. I grew up in a Methodist, religious family kind of stuff, but our closest friends were Catholic and Jewish. And so I had this breadth of belief systems from every single dinner event that I was at, from different things. Because in our Methodist family, we didn't talk about money. In the Jewish family, it's all we talked about was money and business and how to make this thing all work. And the Catholic family was like, no, that we should be ashamed of a whole bunch of things. So it was a really interesting dynamic. And I'm messing with my Catholic friends. Sorry about that. But the idea here is that I had such a variance of different belief systems. And the place that I grew up in the Florida Keys, everybody was coming down there to travel and vacation and be free and enjoy freedom. And I was watching people, and I didn't realize that I was interviewing them, if you will, because I was on the dock. I was on the diving boats and shrimp boats and fishing boats. That's what I grew up on and underneath the water most of the time. And I was just talking to people about how they became successful. And I got all these interesting themes and characteristics that they kept saying over and over. Every single person would say almost the same thing in a very different way. But there was these characteristics that came up. And when I was at the church, I met a beautiful pastor, and his name was John Smith. And he said in one of his Bible studies that day, I think I was like 9 or 10 years old, Frank. So believe me, this was a long time ago, but it had a profound impact, like you said, with critical thinking. He says, David, if you want to understand the greatest life you can live, it's being in service of another. And I was like, what? I want to live the greatest life, kind of stuff. And then, of course, I didn't think about it years later. And then I got involved in sales and timeshare sales. And in timeshare sales, I was because I purposely wanted to learn how the sales game worked. I purposely decided, hey, I don't know how to sales work. My dad's a very good salesperson. I need to learn these strategies and techniques and psychology. And so I went into timeshare. No better place to learn sales in a fast game, what not to do, the what to do. Um, and in that, when I was there, I read a book called Samurai Selling. And in that book, it is said exactly what you just said. Samurai, loosely translated, means in service of others. And those two things snapped together for me at that moment. Living a life, truly great life, of being in service of others and being a samurai. Those two things came together for me. Years later, after I'd worked in real estate for the number one selling real estate agent in the world, I'd been involved in politics and banking, and then I got involved with Tony Robbins. When I came to create my own business, Samurai Success was the name of that business. So combining in service of your success is what we do. So imagine a team of people dedicated to helping you win in this lifetime, understanding how this game really works, understanding how business really works, and teaching you and reminding you of those philosophies. That's a great company to work for.
I love it. And I love the passion behind it.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I just it's
I
just
mean,
fun.
but there isn't much in life that lights us up more than helping other people. Yeah, I've met so many entrepreneurs where that's what they say. They do the entrepreneur and they're like, I just want to help people. It's a
I didn't want
beautiful.
to talk about that, Frank. I wanted to live it. And that's why this, for the last 35 years, have given me this opportunity. So that's why you're feeling that passion because I'm 58 years old. I'm telling you, I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to be just that excited for the next 20 years of my life about how to help this legacy continue without me. Because I'm building a group of coaches here that live by the same philosophies, are passionate. This is a calling for them. And every single one of those three coaches in that pod system is designed for one purpose. They've invested so completely in themselves that they can get literally the hell out of their way so they can truly be in service to you.
Love it. Love it. David, I only got through a third of the list, so we might have to do a round two.
Let's do two.
I was just like, wow, we did not get very far down this list. But you know what? Such wonderful insights and such timely insights. And I believe nothing, everything happens for a reason when it does. And so, no question, this conversation was meant to happen today. And we'll get, we got to get the message out for sure. So, thank you again for coming on to our listeners. I'm sure you enjoyed what you heard. Some powerful wisdom here today. We're going to have the links to David's information below, his business, Samurai Success. If you're interested in maybe hiring David, sounds like a good idea to me, I would reach out to him. Again, the links will be below. I'd be happy to connect with you. And I don't know, David, if you got three coaches walking in the door, that's a winning deal all day long. So, David, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your insights today. It's been wonderful. Can you leave us with a final word?
So thanks, Frank. Thanks for having me. And by the way, I know how much hard work goes into this. We only started in the social media thing about a couple years ago. So to have this kind of fellowship that you have, you've been doing some really great things. So thank you for your hard work on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
The real thing I'd like to share with you before your tribe, if you will, your followers, is that so much of my life I was dedicated to finding out who I am. I was looking at movies and everything, every book, tape, movie was telling me you got to go and discover who you are. Along my path, I found something really insightful that I'd like to share with you. You're not here to discover who you are. You are here to create who you are. And that is the single most important belief shift you're ever going to make in this lifetime to understand what makes someone really popular, a celebrity, someone renowned, someone known, and someone who never gets known ever. And if you really want to be successful this lifetime, you've got to design this thing yourself. You've got to be able to create that scenario. And we've got a great book on that one, just so you know. It's a really small, inexpensive investment called Swords of Illumination that really would help you with that path if you're interested. It's on audiobook for like $3. Please do yourself a favor, grab that tape, grab that book, listen to it, see if it resonates with you. And if it does, then reach out to us because that's when we can help you the most.
Love it. Love it. Well, David, I'll be reaching out and I look forward to continuing this conversation.
Thanks, Frank. Look forward to our next time.